Most online coaches are not going to make it to 2026, and here's why. If you're watching this, you're probably one of the coaches that's grinding really hard, but probably not seeing the results that you were hoping for. Am I right? The harsh truth why most coaches will fail is because you're wearing too many hats. You are doing all the DMs yourself, you're doing all the content, you're booking the calls, you're taking all the calls. And if you actually stop, sit back and actually look at your business, you started this business to make, number one, a hell of a lot of money, to have time freedom, to travel the world, to do all these amazing things. And right now, you're pretty much just in a 9 to 5 with more hours, but a bit more pay. That's the way you've got to start looking at things. The moment you remove yourself from the business, so you stop taking the calls, you stop following up with everybody yourself, you stop doing all these tasks on your own, because that's not a business. That's just solo, which is not where you want to be. When you start to do everything yourself, the little things as simple as a follow-up gets completely lost. Right now, you've probably got 47 different potential leads wrote down in your notes page. You haven't got a system to track it. You don't know who you spoke to when, where they're from, why they didn't close, what their favorite color is. All these things are actually important. Number one, for building rapport and showing you actually care about your students. I actually met a fitness coach today who is closing at around 40%, which is absolutely awesome. He doesn't follow up with anybody that doesn't close right there and then on that call, which to him doesn't matter. But for me, who has seen and built systems and built teams for the last couple of years, to see that someone isn't following up after calls is crazy. There's a statistic that breaks down with everyone you close, around 40% of them actually come in through the follow-up. So this fitness coach who's doing around 30K a month right now could have another potential 40% more calls closed. That's another 18 to 24K in his back pocket, simply from having the right systems and having a team in place that are gonna do that follow-up and do that process for him. Yes, he says if they don't buy there and then on the call, they're not for him. But some people take a little bit more time. Some people take a bit more nurturing. And that is why having the systems and ultimately having a team in place, so you don't have to do everything yourself. Once you learn to spread out and to almost, people look at it as giving up part of the business. That's not the case, because you're not gonna bring setters and bring a closer on if you're making 10K a month and you wanna stay at 10K. The reason you build the systems and you build a team is because you want to go past that. So if we're paying a closer 10%, we're paying a setter 5%. That's 15%. And the way this coach is looking at it, that's 15% on his 10K. So £1,500, which he's now giving out. But that's not the case. When we bring a setter and when we bring a closer on, the idea is that we're going to make more money. We're not bringing in a team. It's not giving up part of the business. It's not giving up part of your profits, because the month or the day even that you bring a closer and setter on, from there it's going to build. Right now you are taking all the calls yourself, which is great. You're not a trained salesperson. Yes, it helps that you're the business owner and people obviously are going to resonate and like more that you're on the call, but you don't ultimately have the skill set. I've worked with multiple online coaches, all of which think they have a very high close rate. They are closing around 20%, 30%, sometimes even 40%, and that's great. But right now, if they're taking 20 calls a week and they're closing at 50%, let's say, they're closing 10 deals. Whereas we bring the systems and we bring a sales team on board, that volume goes up. We're now able to take 50 calls a week, okay, at a 50% close rate, because we know what we're doing. We are much better suited to this role than you are yourself. At that point, you're now giving up only 15%. But if we go from 20 calls a week to 50 and we keep the same close rate, and in theory the close rate's only going to go up because we are the trained professionals, you're no longer giving 15% on your 20K, you're going to be giving 15% on your 50K or your 60K. That is ultimately the goal here. That is what coaches need to get their head around, is that if you bring a team on, you bring a setter and you bring a closer on, you're not giving up any of your money that you're currently making. They're all on commission basis. So when you start going forward, the numbers are only going to go up. I spoke to an online fitness coach today, and the first thing he said to me when we actually sat down, we had a chat about putting in closers, putting in setters, bringing in the systems. He said, I don't think I can afford it. And when we actually dove into that, he's currently making 30K a month, by the way, £30,000 every single month. And he doesn't think he can afford a closer. The reason being is he doesn't want to give up a percentage of what he's already doing. But that is not the case. As I said, when you bring on a team, the idea is we only go up, we only start making more money. So you're no longer paying 15% on your 30K, you're going to be paying 15% on your 60K, 70K, 100K. That is the difference. Going back to why following up with leads is so important, and this is one thing I teach every single closer that I have coached and that are on my teams currently. If you cannot get some sort of commitment from them, whether that's actually getting them to sign up to the program, putting a deposit down, the next best thing is booking them in for a follow-up. This sounds so simple, but 90% of closers, once someone says, I need to go away and think about it, and you physically can't move them forward, they just say, yep, go away and think about it. And the prospect said, yeah, don't worry, I will WhatsApp you, I'll send you a message, I'll write you an email when I'm ready. No, fuck that. Not when they're ready, okay? We put a follow-up in place. We give them, okay, let's jump on 2 hours later, okay? Now they're thinking, shit, I've got 2 hours to make a decision. I've got 2 hours to think of an excuse why I'm not coming on board. 2 hours to think about why I should come on board. Might not be 2 hours, it might be tomorrow, the next day, but if we get a follow-up booked, it's something down on paper. It's something in our calendar that makes a hell of a big difference. It's no longer, I'll come on board when I'm ready. It's, okay, I'm gonna be coming board on the Tuesday at 8 p.m. if I don't think of anything else. That is the importance of booking up a follow-up. It's a commitment-based follow-up. It's not them paying any money. It's not them agreeing to sign up, but what it is doing is agreeing to lock in a time for them to commit more time to jump on a second call with you. They've jumped on one, and that has already been, 45 minutes to an hour out of their day. Now we get them onto a second call. If that prospect shows up on that second call, which is the hard part, getting them to show up, I agree. If that prospect closes on that call, 99% of the time, they are going to close, simply because they would not waste any more of their time if they didn't have to. Simple. A lot of you coaches stuck under 5 to 10K per month think your offer is the problem. I guarantee your offer is not the problem, because you are obviously very good at what you do. Otherwise, you wouldn't be coaching. You wouldn't have the ability to teach people if you didn't know it yourself. So right now, the problem is that your sales system and your sales cycle sucks. If you don't know how to get the correct target ICP, which is the ideal customer profile, the ideal person, ideal client from your following, okay, and build them through a sales process, that's warming them up pre-booking. Getting the setters to break down exactly what we do. Now, this isn't breaking down pricing. This isn't breaking down the complete ins and outs. This is breaking down what they're gonna learn, what this program, what this mentorship actually does. I'm sure as you as a coach have jumped on calls with people and thought, I'm just here to find out what this is actually about. I haven't got a clue what's what. I just wanted a bit more information. No one cares about a bit more information, okay? What you've got to do is make sure people are prepped before jumping on the call. I say this all the time to my setters because the setters can't make any money without the closers and the closers can't make any money without the setters. It's a whole process, almost like we say the circle of life, which is so important, which is why our team has to run effectively together. So these leads, before even getting the chance to book on the calendar, need to be vigorously qualified in terms of know what the program is about, they understand they want to make a change, and obviously they haven't got £3 in the bank account. A little bit harder to do with the financial qualification 100% without putting people off. But again, this is why we put professional setters in place. Instead of you going on and saying, well, look, the program's gonna be 5K, send it to me and I'll get you on board. Because that simply doesn't work. You know for a fact that doesn't work. So why keep doing it? Coaches, you've got to understand the sales process. If that's wrote down on a whiteboard, if that's in a spreadsheet, it doesn't matter, but you have to understand it. You're at the top of the tree. If you've got a closer in, if you've got a setter in, if you've got the sales system, that's great. 100% it's gonna make you 10 times more money, but you've got to understand that process yourself. How we direct the content at the correct target audience. We're not making content for everybody. Not everybody's gonna join our program. We have to target that specific audience. From there, how we can get them to reach out to us simply because inbound messages coming to our inbox are 10 times more effective than outbound messages. Once you start outbounding to people, authority is lost. When they come in, when they send that first message, it's how our setters can reply urgently, okay? We're not waiting 20, 40, 50, 60, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. As soon as those messages come in, we are getting onto them. These are potential customers sat in the pipeline. We are not going to waste time. The setters put them through a vigorous booking process and a vigorous qualification process, simply because anyone that's unqualified has not got a space on our calendar. What is the point? Okay, it looks cool, we can book 10, 15, 20 calls a day, but if 10 out of the 20 aren't gonna close, there's no point in having them on your calendar. That is what we need to understand. Only qualified leads have space for our calendar. How we can ultimately take leads from wanting to book on to booking on, okay? The value we've broken down from there is them understanding what the offer is about, how it works, how it looks. And ultimately, then the closer takes over. Once we get them onto that call. And don't forget, the setter is following up with them every couple of hours until they get onto that meeting. So they've got the meeting link, they've got the time, they know exactly where they should be, when they should be, increasing the show up rate so we can increase the close rate. From there, the next process is obviously the closers now take over. The closers are reaching out, making sure if they've got any questions pre-call, have they got the meeting link? Yes, obviously the setters has done it, but you tell me, if a setter's messaging them off your account, so if you're as a business owner messaging them, if a closer or the program manager's then messaging them, how much more likely are they to show up on a call when they've got 2, 3, 4 different points of contact? Once they're in that meeting, this is where the closers shine. This is what they are trained to do. They are here to close calls. If they don't close calls, it's understanding why. Is it something to do with the offer? Is it something to do with the financial situation? Is it something to do with where the prospect at in their life right now? Whichever way it is, that is tracked in our sales system. It is written down. The call recording is in there. The notes are in there. The summary of the meeting is in there. Meaning every setter, every closer, every program manager, the business owner like yourself, everybody is aware of what we do, where every single lead is at any time. As I said, 40% of your closers will come through follow-up. If we don't know who is who, how can we follow up? It is as simple as that. Well, not as simple as that, but it's pretty simple, okay? Coaches, you need to learn how to loosen the reins simply because you're not giving up part of your business, okay? You are bringing a team in place to grow your business. You're not giving away 15% of your 10K already. You're not giving away 1,500. You are going to grow that business to 20K or to 30K. If you grow it to 20K in the next month, and again, you're still doing 15%, that's only 3K. Okay. Oh, okay, you're paying them double than what you were before. You're left with £17,000 as opposed to 10. And you've also got hardly any work to do. Now you can focus on the content. Now you can focus on the actual coaching, which is the most important part. If we can't get our students results, if you can't get your students results, it's as simple as we cannot keep selling. We cannot keep making money. That is the bottom line. So coaches, I urge you to loosen the reins, to bring on the correct team, to have the systems in place. Ultimately, if you want to grow, you've got to loosen the reins.